son of Donald Trump, Eric Trump, appeared on MAGA Fox News host Maria Bartiromo show on Fox News, and very quickly, as he seems to do all too often, Eric Trump made a fool of himself. Now we'll look at the moment that I'm referring to specifically that extra irked me, but we'll do this sort of in reverse chronological order because I want to end on that clip because I have the most to say on it and it might send me into a rant. So first, let's go through just a couple miscellaneous clips from this interview where Eric Trump tries to defend his father. Here is moment one.
Right, he's going all over the place, and his stamina, Maria, I've never seen anything like it in my life. I mean, I've just never seen it. He'll be in trial all day long, relentlessly being attacked by a corrupt judge.
I'm going to pause your viewing of this video super quickly to ask you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just click that subscribe button, and right next to it is the join button. So you can become a member to get the daily bonus show by clicking that join button. Back to the video.
Yeah. You know, whose literally family is apparently profiting off of this whole thing, only to step out and go do events at bodegas and wake up and speak to union workers and go to Michigan and go to Pennsylvania and go to Ohio and go to all the other swing states. The guy is really a remarkable human being, and I love him to death, and I'm proud of him. And I think the whole world knows his backbone and his toughness, and it's exactly who we need behind the resolute desk in Washington, D.C. It's the exact person we need in the Oval Office.
Well,
Is this just me? I know I'm probably biased when it comes to anyone with the last name Trump, but does his little statements, the phrases he delivers, just never comes off quite right and seems a little too rehearsed and a little awkward? And there, of course, it's a little bit of an overcompensation to talk about his incredible stamina whenever the big news item, aside from him being in a criminal trial, has been at that criminal trial. He keeps falling asleep. He just can't keep himself awake during such a high stakes situation. So maybe that's why he's beating on that drum so aggressively about the stamina. Then here's him talking about Lara Trump last night being at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Certainly has been able to raise money during all of this. Your wife, Lara Trump, is now the co-chair of the RNC. What kind of a difference do you believe she is making? A lot of people want to understand what the Republicans are doing to ensure election integrity. I know that's one of her key priorities, correct?
It's everything. And making sure that not a penny is wasted, election integrity. In fact, she showed up at the White House Correspondents' Dinner last night. She went into the pit of snakes, to say the least, and into the swamp, and they had a couple remarks about her on stage, which means she's doing something very effectively. The last time they did that was when Obama hit my father on stage, and then he went to win the White House. So the fact that they're talking about her at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, I think is validation that she's doing a hell of a job, and I'm proud of her. She's an amazing wife. She's an amazing person. She's smart.
Okay, so not much to say on that one other than it actually seems like Lara Trump is running the RNC into the ground. But let's get to the clip that is the most notable in my mind, where Eric Trump once again reveals this wild and aggravating misunderstanding, not just pushed by dishonest figures like Eric Trump and his allies, but also just broadly good faith Americans seem to have a misunderstanding about this very subject. And I'll get to what I mean by that after we watch the clip. Before even getting to the response to the clip, I'll show you a couple other clips of him going through the same routine, but little details get changed every time. Here's what I mean on clip one.
And they're going after a guy for a $130,000 payment? Every day they close the courtroom. You know, they close the streets around the court. It costs 20 times that. Every time they shut down the FDR Drive, it costs 50 times that. No one believes it. All while in New York, you can't go into Duane Reade. You can't go into CVS and buy skin lotion because it has to be locked behind plexiglass because theft is so high. And the DA's entire focus is Donald Trump? Give me a break.
I have to say, I'll put him next to me what I'm referring to. I think he's going a little overboard with the drama. The video or the podcast listeners can't see this because it's on video, but he's doing that sort of stereotypical politician thing with his hand where you have the thumb on the fist and just really delivering that in a way that's a little strange, but that's not important. He did say that this is about just $130,000. That's of course not the case. New York State's not just desperately in need of $130,000. It has to do with the campaign finance laws being violated, which are in place to protect the election systems that we have to allow for the American people ideally to be served properly by those elections. That's more what it's about than the actual figure that was given to Stormy Daniels. But this talking point of all while in New York, you can't go into Duane Reade, you can't go into CVS and buy skin lotion because it has to be locked behind plexiglass. He's done this same thing over and over, but he keeps changing the item.
All while in New York, you can't go into Duane Reade, you can't go into CVS and buy skin lotion because it has to be locked behind plexiglass.
In New York City, homelessness is through the roof. I went into Duane Reade the other day, and literally you can't buy Advil in Duane Reade without having somebody come up with a key and unlock, those little plastic things that you pick up, because there's so much looting in the city. I went into literally CVS the other day, and you can't buy Tylenol because it's locked behind these glass counters because there's so much theft and there's so much looting, there's so much homelessness and crime.
So you saw there the initial clip we looked at and then two examples of him telling this same story. He doesn't really have a new anecdote he can share. And then I was in Target and Walmart. It's always very similar, just switching out what he was getting: Advil, Tylenol, skin lotion. Now, the reason this deserves to be mocked is not because there aren't real issues in a city like New York City. There are, and they should be addressed. It's just that these Republicans somehow successfully push these narratives that are aimed at fear-mongering when the places they would say are being governed better have worse problems by these very same metrics, right? So if we're talking about crime and we want to compare where Eric Trump's dad lives, West Palm Beach, Florida, in a red state of Florida, DeSantis doing good things there, maybe, I don't know. And you look at the crime rates between New York City and West Palm Beach, and New York City is way safer based on these crime rates. Violent crime, 28.2 versus 41.9, I should say, or property crime, 24.9 versus 67.3. And so crime rates much higher in West Palm Beach, Florida, a place that, again, Eric Trump would say is being governed way better than New York City. But it's always the fear mongering about New York City and about these other blue cities. And it's not just right wingers that are convinced. You have a lot of centrists and some center left people who genuinely believe these lies about areas that are actually safer than the narrative that's being pushed on them, that of course is supposed to be a negative indictment of the governance of Democrats, when in reality, so often these problems are way worse in red areas. So let's address them everywhere, but let's not lie about the reality of them. And same thing we're seeing nationwide. We've talked about the study that shows 40% higher homicide rates in red states versus blue states. And then right now, they're trying to push an idea to hurt Biden politically that crime is surging nationwide, even though it just keeps dropping under Joe Biden. There was that huge surge in 2020, the pandemic conditions and Trump's mishandling of them. And then every year under Biden, we've seen these drops in crime rates. And then right now, in part because of a historic public safety investment, Biden's overseeing violent crime rates that are near more than 50-year lows, meaning lower than they were under Donald Trump. And so this is what's so upsetting about talking about these things, is often the stories will still be more compelling to people. The anecdotes, the fear-mongering, that will get people more riled up and more convinced that Biden's bad or Democrats are bad on this issue than just talking about the raw data and just being more objective in our assessment of this topic. So that's discouraging, but at least we have the power to go out there and inform as many people as we can. Let me know what you thought of all that in the comments.